Hello and welcome. Today I want to share with you a story of when I failed a client, because this experience helped not only reveal something about myself, but reveal something about my industry, and it put me on the path towards Marketing Broker Australia. Now, before I get started, if you have a similar story to the one that I'm about to share of when you felt like a marketing professional or an agency had failed you, please do share your story in the comments below. I love to hear it. I love to speak to you about it and kind of learn more about those experiences, because that's the purpose of the business I've set up, Marketing Broker Australia, is to ensure that the businesses that go through our platform, that go through our service, never have to go through that. They never have to feel like they've been underserved, undervalued, and mistreated, and more importantly, feel like they've been left out of their own marketing process and not getting the growth that they're looking for. So let me share with you this story of when I failed a client. Now, this was probably about 2 years ago. I had met this client. I just started Udemy Group, so our digital marketing agency. We're about a month in, and I'd met with this client. Now, this client had an e-commerce store where she made her own products and sold it through the web store, and the product was ideal for like gifting for new mums. So I met with her. I really loved the idea. You know, the quality of the product was fantastic. I was completely sold in terms of what it was that she was trying to do. She took me through what her growth objectives are and what it is she's looking for from an agency. Now, I was very transparent to kind of let her know that we're just started, we're brand new. I've got a wealth of experience in the space of marketing, but I was just kind of entering the digital marketing space. So I was very transparent in terms of I was going to be learning as I went. I had a bit of a support team, but it was going to be kind of developing the messages and kind of developing the executions as we went. So comparing that plan to, she also went to a larger, more established digital marketing agency that was obviously significantly more expensive, but because of they communicated their experience, communicated execution details, kind of established more trust in terms of they'll be able to deliver upon their promises. So I totally understood why she opted to go with this other larger agency over us. But in the meantime, I said I was a fan of her product, so I continued to engage with her content on Facebook and continued to kind of, maintain that kind of relationship. A few months later, she reached out to us and said, look, I've been working with this larger agency for a little while, and there's something about it I don't feel comfortable with. And given I was, a little bit maybe too honest, but very transparent when we first met, that she just wanted to kind of sit down and kind of get a second opinion about what was taking place with this larger agency and just get us, second set of eyes across it. So we caught up and I kind of went through this proposal they had sent through. And I've got to be honest, I was just stunned. I was stunned by its lack of detail, its lack of insight, its lack of data, its lack of any real accountability. Like it was essentially just basic, broad statements about the services they were planning to offer. To me, it felt overpriced in terms of what they were offering. And it was a very expensive overall project, particularly for a business making under $100,000 a year. They were asking for quite a lot and really provided no accountability, no specifics, no clear direction, no insight as to why they're making these choices. So I totally understood why, the person I was talking to felt really uncomfortable about, this was going to be her largest investment over the year, right? Her largest, secondary to her website. And it just felt like it lacked purpose, it lacked strategy, it lacked reason. She also shared with me the monthly reports that they were sharing with her as well. And unfortunately, again, I was stunned, but these were just these automated data dump reports that they were sending out. 8 pages, pulling data from Google and social media. But you almost felt like you needed a degree just to kind of interpret what the data meant. But there was no commentary, there was no analysis, there was no, what's working, not working. Just bang, here's data, you figure it out. And again, I was stunned because the amount of money that these guys were charging and how little customer service they were offering, I was surprised, right? So I took it through in terms of, well, you're right, like this is substandard to what you should expect. If you're open to it, partner with me and let me kind of show you what we can do, right? So she took a chance on us. Right, so we put together a much more detailed marketing plan that had, we'd done a landscape assessment in terms of like reviewing the industry, We did a competitor review, so kind of looking at how her website is benchmarked against some of the others that offer, similar products for the target market. We looked at the different mummy groups that are out there on Facebook and provided some recommendations in terms of which ones might be ideal for sharing content. We provided a seasonal campaign over 12 months in terms of what gifting periods to kind of focus in on and some key messages, some example content. So all the kind of things that you would expect to kind of see in a much more detailed marketing plan. And then actually putting forward long-term objectives in terms of what the potential size or prize of the business is over 3 to 5 years, but then also starting to kind of map out the journey to kind of get there. So all these kind of specifics, which is really, really good in terms of kind of where we're going to go and some of the key executions around how to use email marketing, Facebook, and a few other things. So we put that plan together. And then we helped because what the other agency was offering was to provide training, but really basic training. And I basically just advised, this client, just jump on Facebook Blueprint. It's free. Training is really good quality. Kind of jump on, work through those sessions. And she was already pretty intuitive with Facebook. So just picking up those kind of strategic advice from the experts was a far more effective way of delivering the training. And then really kind of put that money towards the more complicated stuff like building out, a MailChimp database or kind of building out, in terms of graphic design work and all these sorts of things. So we kind of built all this content, and the intent of this first phase is always for her to self-manage. So good quality, and there's one big thing that I was missing, and I'll come back to what that is because it helped kind of justify why I would argue the second part of the campaign failed. But all but this one thing I think was kind of good quality. So she went out, she's kind of self-managed, starting to make some momentum, and then we decided a few months later, okay, it's time for us now to collaborate again on a Facebook campaign for a large seasonal period. So we had put together, based on kind of the seasonal messaging, we put a whole bunch of content. We targeted based on mummy groups. We kind of had this kind of plan put together. The first month, the campaign bombed. I mean, it did terribly, right? Absolute disaster. So obviously took the lessons from there. We expanded the campaign further, increased the quality of the content, did all sorts of things, and then run the second month. And the promise I made to her right from the get-go, because I again, been very transparent, let her know that, look, I'm learning as I go here, so I will not charge for my time or the graphic design work unless we deliver on these benchmarks. So we agreed on what success looks like, and I said, if I deliver this number, then pay us. If not, the only cost to you would be the ads themselves and the copywriter that we brought in to kind of help out. So as I said, month one, didn't deliver. Month two, expanded the campaign. It did better than the first month, but not to the benchmark that we had set. So I was frustrated as well. I was disappointed that the results weren't there. And obviously she was as well, because there was a bit of money spent. So we opted not to move forward with month three. Now, the lesson here, right, in terms of that piece that was missing, and for those that are more of an expert in this space, and definitely something that I've been focusing on the last 12 months, is what was missing was the consumer journey, right? So being really clear in terms of how to take the consumer from the awareness stage right through to purchase and advocacy. We had not gone through that process, and therefore the content was a little bit too directional, a little bit too one-sided, very salesy, versus kind of building out that journey. So that's the big lesson there in terms of why the execution failed. But the lesson for me and the kind of ha-ha moment from this whole experience is, here's this business owner, right? Under $100,000 a year, she's looking for advice. She goes what most people would expect to go to. Let's go to a large established agency. And when she went there, what she found is, this agency lacked accountability, lacked any sort of joint business planning, lacked specifics, and she felt like every conversation that she had with them was out of scope, right? There was a price tag to asking for help. And a lot of businesses in this marketing space have a disproportionate focus on this idea of minimum value proposition or minimum value service offering, but the idea of offer you the least amount of service that generates the value to justify the pricing that they offer. And what tends to be compromised from that in their efforts to automate, in their efforts to simplify, is it takes away the customer service, and it takes away the kind of that partnership and that journey with the client where you feel like you're working together, right? So she's gone to this larger established agency and they've under-delivered. Then she's gone to someone like myself who had good intent, that was very honest, that had communicated, a wealth of marketing experience, but also under-delivered against the promises made. So how is she supposed to know? All this money has been spent, and she's still not, whether it's a large company or a small company, the promises have not been delivered. The marketing seems to have failed. Now, the good news is she's doing really well now, right? So the marketing plan that we'd put together kind of led to some really good, powerful insights. She did the training herself in terms of online training. I invited her or sent invites to other local training as well. And she's just become, has really an amazing connection with her target audience and built a very large following on Facebook and generating some good quality sales from it. So for her, the business is working to where she needs to, which is fantastic. But for me, what's kind of led to the path to marketing broker is this issue, right, of not knowing who to work with and not really finding out in terms of whether they're good enough to kind of meet your needs until months in. It's just not where my industry needs to be. We need to be better than this. And I've mentioned before, one of the big problems with the marketing industry is, there's no requirements for qualifications. There's no certifications required. You're not required to join an industry body. There's no minimum standards for campaign performance. It still feels like it's a little bit of the wild, wild west, right? It's an industry that's still developing, still finding its voice in terms of how to police it. And that's why there's this explosion of digital marketers. We've all been inundated with Facebook and YouTube ads of people promising the world. And it's a very scary space for businesses to kind of work out who to work with. So for me, what I did, right, the way that I can solve to make sure that kind of mistake, that kind of fail would never happen again was, one, personal development. So obviously spend plenty of time researching and doing online courses and spending heaps of time in training. But more importantly, was actually finding people who have the depth of knowledge. I might have the breadth of knowledge when it comes to marketing, the breadth of knowledge when it comes to branding, wealth of experience when it comes to project management and trade marketing and all that sort of stuff. But finding people that spent years doing Facebook and years on Instagram, years on YouTube, years in customer relations marketing and email marketing, and kind of finding these experts. And then I'll just spend time talking to them. And what I found is they're very generous. Those who are genuine experts in their field love what they do and very open to sharing it. And that kind of personal journey of kind of actively looking for people to kind of help close my gaps, realize that, this is a service that I can offer people, that I can sit down, meet with a business owner, get a sense of where they're going, where they are, where they want to go, put forward a growth plan in terms of a strategy, in terms of, what does accountability look like, right? So we know what it is that we're going to these agencies for. And then through my experience, from my days working with, amazing brand managers to the training that I have, and having that kind of intuition, also as a lecturer and tutor in marketing, working with hundreds of students every year, I know what it is to look for when it comes to the right marketing traits of a marketing professional. These traits include, their one, customer service, right? That they generally care about their clients, that they generally work with them, that they generally want to share their knowledge and share their wisdom and help develop them. That they have not bought into this idea of minimum value proposition, or at least overly so, right? That they appreciate data, right? So you're not going to get this data dump automated reports of 8 pages, but they know how to read the data, how to pull its insights and actually report on it, actually share some commentary, share some wisdom, provide what's working, not working, what actions we want to take forward. Traits in terms of joint business planning, the understanding that with marketing, it can't be some separate third-party thing that someone else does, but it is a partnership between you and the business owner, because the marketer's role is to be the expert around your customer. So they need to start by learning what you know about your customer right from the start, and then collaborating with you to ensure that whatever they're doing on a marketing side is reflected in what you do, right? So, when you're going out and you're talking to customers and you're engaging with customers and doing all the taking phone calls and responding to emails, that it's consistent with what they're doing online or what they're doing in print or what they're doing in radio, whatever it might be. So that's what I wanted. That's what I've set out to do. Is I built a platform, I built processes so I can vet to make sure that I'm finding the right marketing professionals that are specialists in their areas, that have the depth of knowledge to deliver on the promises that we put forward. And then provide business owners such as yourself the tools to give them to manage accountability. So you know what to expect in terms of growth. You know how to set a budget. You know how to calculate return on investment. So you're always in control. You're maintaining accountability and control. So that way it never feels like you're going to fail. And there's an agreement up front in terms of what actions do we take if we fall short of these goals. You know, what else can we do to kind of get closer and closer to the objectives we set? That's how I can help. So I hope I know it's an odd story to tell in terms of, you know, sharing an experience when I failed a client and I still heartbroken, you know, after a year later. And I said it really put me onto this amazing journey of kind of making sure that the experience that she had, the experience that I got a feeling, if you've been watching, you know, all 50 minutes of this video, it's an experience you share as well, that you've gone through the exact same thing of where you've gone to multiple agencies, large and small, and they've failed you over and over again. I want to play the role to ensure that you are always working with professionals and that you have the right accountability. So if you've got a story to share, please do jump down in the comments below. Feel free to email me as well. I love to hear your stories to make sure that I'm addressing a lot of the concerns that you have, to make sure that moving forward, when you're finding or looking for marketing resources or marketing professionals, that you get exactly what you need to deliver the growth you're looking for. And if you're looking for more information, jump on our website. There's plenty of information on there as we're looking to educate business owners on a variety of marketing services, how-to guides, all that sort of stuff as well. So feel free to jump on and check out more. My name is Lee Corley, Managing Director of Marketing Broker Australia, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video.